Hello, welcome to the second sort of guide to help get your content sorted for quarter four. Right, so you've already watched the video, I'm hoping, about getting clear on your actual content and what your goal is for this period. Okay, so this time it's going to be slightly shorter. We're just going to be talking about your audience. Okay, so this is where we need to think about our audience. So you would have already by now thought about, okay, what am I trying to achieve and what can I achieve and what can I basically talk about? You might not have it all pinned out yet, that's absolutely fine, but hopefully you have got an idea in your head and be like, right, I am going to focus on this topic. You don't need to have 20 different topics, just have one and then just break it down. Okay, so once we've got that idea and that theme, this is where we need to put on the lens of our audience. Okay, so this is where you need to sort of do a bit of research. You might already have this information, but it's just sometimes it gets lost, it gets forgotten, and people tend to neglect it because they're in such a hurry. Like, I need to send something out, I need to post this blog post, I need to send this newsletter, I just need to get the content done, and there's like no love or thought in it. But if we then take a step back and we look at it from an audience's perspective, what are they going to try and get out of it, then it does sort of change the way that we approach our content. So right, let's work on your ideal audience. Okay, for some of you may already know this, so please just skip along a little bit, or just I'll only be a couple of minutes, so it won't be too long. Right, so go through who is your ideal audience. Like, it's usually it's useful to think of like an ideal client. So you have like an ideal person. So like it might be a lady called Jane and she's the HR manager, and she like she's, yeah, I don't know. You can have it as specific as you like. So this is what is useful. So if you have a ideal client in your head, so you have usually a job position, so it's like a business owner, a director, HR, there's a financial manager. It depends on your product or service. So have that ideal job person that you're trying to speak to in your head. Sometimes giving it a name really helps. Have a think, how do they communicate? How do they interact? Do they use LinkedIn? Do they use Facebook? Do they check their emails? Do they read blog posts? And then once you sort of get into that and you sort of do a bit of research, sometimes you find that your ideal audience is actually quite similar to yourself. So that generally helps. So what you would do is go in and be like, right, okay, so I know I want to target business owners, and they use LinkedIn mainly. Sometimes they use Facebook, and then you then start to think, be like, right, okay, so when do they use that? Okay, so mainly either on their lunch break or in the evening. Okay, so that just helps structure a bit of about our timing and our scheduling. Okay, or how do they, okay, they read blog posts, but how do they absorb them? So it'd probably be quickly on their lunch break. They might save them and then come back to them. They check their emails, but they check it quickly, but then might return to it like a week later. You've then got to try and really think about how your audience is absorbing the information that you send to you, okay, and where they interact, because that will then have an impact on, first of all, how we talk to them in terms of what platform, but also in terms of communication and message. Okay, so if it's somebody who is reading like a blog post really quickly, we want to try and then make sure that our content is short, sharp, sweet, and sort of fact finding. So if your ideal client is like a business owner or managing director, something like that, then they probably won't have time to look through a 20-minute like written prose about detailed subject matter, whereas say a technician, engineer may be more likely to absorb information like that because they are interested and they then also have more time available to them. So you will sort of, this is where you've got to, sometimes having a bit of market research helps, or just doing your own market research, just even putting a poll out on LinkedIn or Facebook, like, how do you absorb your content? Do you read it quickly, come back to it? Do you like to read something through and detailed? Do you prefer longer copy? Do you prefer shorter copy? All these things sort of really help. So once you sort of know how they absorb the information, is it quickly, is it in a more detailed way, do they save it? Because that really helps, because yes, you, as long as you've got like attention grabbing headlines and a good killer introduction paragraph, then you then know that they'll keep it then for another time. So that really helps. And then also going through in terms of the tone. So I'm sure you may have already discovered like your own brand tone, brand voice. That is how your brand or your company communicates with your audience. So this is just, would sort of innately be how you communicate. So do you speak in a more chatty, personable way, or are you more professional? Are you like a law firm? So you're going to have to be professional. You're going to have to use a lot of legal terminology that most people who aren't aware of it wouldn't meet. So that they're not your ideal clients, so it doesn't really matter. You know your ideal clients like the legal jargon, and that's absolutely fine. So you've got to try and work. So you've got your brand tone, and you know how you communicate, and then sort of skipped ahead of myself. Go into your ideal client. How do they like to be spoken to? So yes, you like to speak in a certain way, but how does your audience like to be spoken to? So like say if they're technicians, like they could, like say legal professionals, they could really enjoy reading words with these complex words that are completely relevant to their industry. But if they're not likely to like words like that, then that's when you need to sort of change it up a little bit. So yes, some people, this is what I've had in the past, where I've had business owners think we need to write really professionally, we need to make sure our content sounds really super formal, when in fact their audience is a bit like, they're reading it going, wait, what can you just clarify that? Like they need a bit more help, and they need a bit more hand holding to explain these big topics that you're talking about. So you want to make sure that your content is related to how your audience sort of absorbs the information in terms of like their reading habits, but then also in terms of what are they trying to absorb, what information they're trying to get, how do they talk, how do they read, how do they understand things. So you need to make sure that the way you're talking talks directly to them. So you're not talking at them, but you're talking sort of to them and through them, if that makes sense. Okay. And then also in terms of like keywords, are there any keywords that your audience likes, that resonates well with your audience? Is there anything in particular? Like some people like love the word free. Like if you were to give out something and they say like, oh, free offer or discount, they're all about trying to save money. But I'm sure if you were then to have lots of copy that you're sending to like medical professionals, they don't care about free, discounted. They're all about quality. So they want to make sure that they've got like studies to prove things. They want to make sure it's medically researched. They want to make sure that everything is related to sort of quality and professionalism, if that makes sense. So you need to make sure that when you, depending on your industry, this is why I say like vague in the way I'm describing it, but you need to make sure that the keywords are relevant to your industry, are relevant to your audience. So if you're going to be if you're going to be going, I'm trying to think of an example in my head. So say if you're an accountant, only because I did the tax assessment one example. So you want to make sure, like say self-assessment, that's like a keyword, and that's going to be quite pertinent to your audience, especially with the timing as well. So you want to make sure that your keyword is something that draws their attention because that's something they're interested in. Say for example, business owners, business directors, they're going to be one, if they're like talking from my perspective in terms of copywriting or marketing, they're going to be interested in ROI, return on investment. They want to know about KPIs like key performance index, all these things. Whereas if you to send that to a because I don't know, if you're going to send it to an admin person, they'll be like, I don't really care. Like if it depends who you're targeting. So you want to make sure that your targeting is relevant, because once it is relevant and it is specific to what your audience is after, that's when their mind goes, oh, I'm going to pay attention to that because it's got a keyword and something that I'm really interested in. So when you go through to your audience, go through and try and work out, what are my audience interested in? What are they looking for? What do they need help on? What is their problem that I am trying to solve? So once you've got that, like I say, if it's the business owners who are all about return on investment, make sure that your copy has got return on investment, key performance indicators, like got things that, oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm interested in. They don't want to know about the different techniques, about marketing platforms. They might be interested, but that's not going to spark their interest. You need to find these keywords that really be like, right, okay, I'm going to pay attention because this is relevant to me. So once you've got your audience, you know who you're talking to, you know how they like the information, and you know what makes it easy for them to read this and digest this information. They like it quickly, so they like it long prose, they like it detailed. You've then got to interlace all of your keywords and all of your findings of things that are really important to them. So once you've got your big content plan, your overall goal for the rest of quarter 4, and you've got your subjects of what you're going to talk about, then as you're creating your content, go through and think, okay, so I know that my audience is really interested in return on investment, so I'm going to make sure that a couple of my headlines have got return on investment or KPIs in the subject line or the headline or the title or the caption title. I'm going to make sure that I make sure my content resonates with them, because once it resonates, they then be like, okay, well, that was useful, so I'm going to come back again and I'm going to try and see if they've got something else about it. And you want to make sure that you carry on this flow, because that encourages readership. So making sure that your content is readable and sort of is a bit like a book. So you want to make sure that everything sort of flows quite nicely. And I think that's a problem where we get to now with content. People are in such a rush to think about, I need to get something out right now. They don't think about the bigger picture. And that's hopefully where this will help guide you in terms of what to write for quarter 4 and how to get that out there. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you've got any questions, then feel free to email me hello@BeFreeFlexibleWorking, or DM me on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at BeFreeFlexibleWorking. Okay, if you've got any questions, please let me know. It might be like, because my examples are so vague, if you've got something you think, actually I'm really stuck, I don't know in terms of your industry, message me and I will help, because I do apologise, I should have had some examples prepared beforehand. Okay, bye.